O Mother Nui, stretch high above this valley. Your starry body is our glory. Then see the hawk of yonder Rahur quit, his fiery splendor, oh so mighty. He brings a light for all our weary souls. He makes the broken spirit whole.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Imagine finding like a 300-year-old chemistry manual that isn't just about making literal gold, but actually serves as this psychological survival guide for the human ego.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like science fiction, honestly.
Right. But today, your deep dive is focused on decoding this highly cryptic text from 1735 Germany. It's called the Uraltes Chemisches Werk. And we're looking at this fascinating analytical report on how its bizarre illustrations, specifically a sleeping king and a constricting serpent, serve as this dual blueprint.
Exactly. And to understand why anyone paid attention to these, strange drawings back then, we really have to look at how this book sort of hacked the 18th century attention economy.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
It is genuinely wild that an 18th century lab notebook doubles as a map to mastering your own mind.
It really is. I mean, the book didn't present itself as new science. It claimed to be this lost ancient text written by a mystical rabbi named Abraham Eleazar. And supposedly, it was the exact translation the legendary alchemist Nicholas Flamel used to find the Philosopher's Stone.
Oh, wow. So it's basically the 18th century equivalent of a viral Reddit thread claiming to leak, like, highly classified ancient secrets.
That is a perfect way to put it. It leverages that irresistible allure of a hidden record.
But the author was lying, right? I mean, this wasn't actually some ancient rabbi.
No, not at all. What's fascinating here is that modern scholars are highly confident it was actually penned by a German man named Julius Gervasius.
Wait, really? A German guy just made up the rabbi?
Yeah, he manufactured this mystical Jewish authority because he knew that in esoteric circles, attaching Hebrew scholarship to a text gave it unassailable credibility. He was basically borrowing centuries of profound tradition to make sure readers took his visual instructions seriously.
Which brings us to the main event, right? The illustration of a king just lying completely helpless on the ground, stripped to his crown.
Right, the helpless king.
Because if the king represents unrefined gold, or, psychologically the human ego, why strip him of all his power? A king is the ultimate symbol of control.
Well, the text argues that a crown represents inherited static power. And that is ultimately fragile and meaningless. To make actual pure gold, you have to completely destroy the unrefined material first.
So you have to break it down entirely.
Yes, this is the Negrotto phase, or putrefaction. In a physical lab, alchemists used antimony, which they called the wolf. When you heat it, molten antimony acts as an intense chemical solvent.
Oh, so it violently binds to the base metals and impurities in the unrefined gold.
Exactly. It literally eats the king so that only the purified elemental gold remains.
So you're throwing a highly reactive solvent at crude metal to rip away the junk. That makes sense chemically, but psychologically, that sounds terrifying.
It is terrifying.
If I'm the king and my ego is getting dissolved by the wolf, what does that actually look like for a person?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this mirrors Carl Jung's theory of individuation. Jung realized alchemists were projecting their own mental states onto these chemical reactions.
Oh, so the wolf is a metaphor for a life crisis.
Precisely. It is a major life crisis, like a career failure or a crushing heartbreak. Your conscious ego, your inner king, has to surrender and let that crisis burn away your rigid assumptions about who you are.
Because you can't reach wholeness without first letting your old identity dissolve.
Exactly. And the breakdown isn't passive either.
Right. The king is driven into this state by a constricting serpent. The text has snakes everywhere, doesn't it?
Snakes everywhere, yeah.
There's an Ouroboros eating its own tail, which physically represents cyclical distillation. So, boiling a liquid, capturing the vapor, and condensing it back down.
Over and over again.
Right. And then there's a crucified snake, representing fixing volatile spirits. But wait, what does fixing a volatile spirit actually mean in a physical lab?
Think of a volatile chemical like alcohol or ammonia. It evaporates easily, right? It escapes as a gas. To fix it means to chemically combine it with a solid, stable substance so it can withstand intense heat without vanishing.
Ah, so it forces the chaotic, airy elements to ground themselves?
Exactly. You're grounding the chaos.
Okay, so we have distilling liquids, fixing evaporating gases, and wolves eating kings. So what does this all mean?
Well, to unlock the underlying meaning, you have to look back at the text's profound Jewish roots.
Right, the authority Gervasius borrowed.
Gervasius was tapping into an esoteric tradition that resonated deeply with the oppressed Jewish diaspora. Consider the psychological mechanism here. If you are a marginalized community facing constant, violent persecution, that literal oppression feels like meaningless suffering.
But alchemy reframed that suffering for them.
It did. It told them, you are the unrefined gold, and this persecution is the Negredo fate.
Oh, wow. So it gave the suffering a purpose. It wasn't just pain. It was active purification.
Yes. Producing the Philosopher's Stone was never a get-rich-quick scheme. It was a messianic metaphor. By mastering the violent transformative fire in the lab, symbolized by that constricting serpent, they were symbolically rehearsing their own survival.
Figuring out how to withstand the heat of oppression and regain their stolen crown.
Precisely.
That is a massive perspective shift. A chemistry manual becomes a survival guide for the human spirit. The core takeaway from these cryptic sources is that true sovereignty, whether over matter in a crucible or over your own mind, is never inherited.
No, it has to be earned by descending into our darkest, most helpless moments and letting the fire do its work.
Which leaves you with this to ponder. The next time you feel completely powerless or stuck in life, ask yourself, are you actually failing? Or are you just in the silent Negredo phase, waiting for the serpent of transformation to awaken your true potential?